All right, guys, welcome back. It's another Thursday of a Millionaire Lunch with the Millionaire of the Hour, Michael Franke, and myself, Caroline Kane. Excited to have you guys all here with us. Thank you for tuning in. I see Jonathan has been prepared asking his questions already.
Consistent.
That's one thing. He's been messaging me a lot on Instagram too, which is good. So I'm glad that you guys are getting some value out of these lives. I am on the road again. Yesterday, I got to spend some time with Michael Franke at his office, which is awesome. Michael, thank you for letting us disrupt your day. Marla and I were just talking about how much fun it was to be with you and just get to hang out with somebody who's you're on path for your purpose with the mission at the forefront, which was really, really cool. Love that. And then we went to your car. I didn't even tell you. We went to the Joe's barbecue. What was it? What did you tell us again?
How was it?
It was incredible. I got burnt ends. I've now learned I don't like ribs. Ribs are not my thing.
Really?
The ribs they haven't impressed me. We went to that one Stacks place and the ribs were
Jack Stacks?
Not great. Yeah, but when we got burnt ends, incredible. Tender, juicy. Got the regular barbecue sauce and like the Carolina hot barbecue sauce or whatever. Great. So thank you for the recommendation. Free plug if you guys are in Kansas City, go to Joe's KC.
Joe's KC. Can't lose.
Joe's KC. Can't lose. Great recommendation for all of us. So we enjoyed that after hanging out with you, and that was a lot of fun. But for everybody on here, thank you guys for tuning in. We do this every Thursday at 12 o'clock Arizona time. I'm going to put this up on the dashboard while we're not driving. We do this at 12 o'clock Arizona time every Thursday, and you might see some people coming and going because we're going to start taking off here in a little bit. But Michael is the expert, and I have been copying off of what he's done. And the reason why I am so hell-bent and convicted on this is because I know it works. I just ended a new student Zoom where I was talking to people like, where are you in the meeting to get deals done and what's important to you? And a lot of people, I actually had one woman tell me they're setting up everything. I had one woman tell me that she, oh my gosh, right. She had just bought 2 different products to do automatic calls for her and to send out automatic offers to agents. And she's like, it's because I'm afraid to talk to people. I'm afraid to start taking the action. And I was like, well, how have these automations, how have these programs worked for you so far? And she said, well, actually, they have done nothing for me. I have not gotten any deals from it. So I asked her, what do you want to do? She's like, well, I'd like to get another deal under contract. So what do you think I told her the fastest way to get a deal under contract was?
I don't know. What'd you say?
What you told me, to go knock some doors. So knocking the doors changes the game. And I think I told you when we were in person together, I don't know if Shino's on here, but Shino, if you are watching, shout out to you. I think I told you about this in person though. Shino, guys, what I talk and I preach about is just things I've learned from Michael Franke. And when I copied off what he said last year, in 2 weeks, I got my first property under contract. So I told Shino what to do. She came into a Zoom where she only had $65 in her bank account, listened to the process, started implementing it, started being intentional with her day, writing down what her goals were. And in that process, she started getting deals under contract. Her first deal, she made $22,000 on. She's done 15 deals since then, made in the total assignments $300,000 just by knocking doors. She hung out with us in Chicago, and we're like, well, hang out a little bit longer. She's like, I can't. The weekends are my door knocking days, and this is where I make the most money. So if you guys are new and you're on the hunt for your first deal, I have absolute belief in it because I know it works because I've copied off of what Michael said. Go knock some doors. Go ask the questions on this live. We do it every Thursday. I love this. Tony Wynn just said, just watch the episode with Steve Trang. I know you just put that on your Instagram. So guys, if you're not hanging around people that are more successful than you and have already, made the wheel, you don't have to reinvent it. Just go ask them the question. So that's my long introduction to you should sit down and listen to what we're saying because it works. And we're here to help you guys and answer the questions that you have. So with that being said, if you guys have anything in the Kansas City area, Michael Franke, you can see this is his Instagram down below, Michael_Franke with an E on the end. He is your buyer for anything and everything around Kansas City. And I'm your buyer for anything in Phoenix. We're down to help you guys. We'll JV with you. Do you have any, and before I go into the questions, Michael, are there any announcements or anything that you want to announce that's coming up soon for everybody?
Nope. We're just here to give value right now.
All right, perfect. We're here to give value. So let's get.
If you want to check stuff out, you know where it is.
There you go. Go to his Instagram to see it all. So let's get over to the first question that Jonathan has. How do you explain the assignment of a contract for the 4 options and 5th option transparently to a homeowner without sounding like a middleman? So, Michael, let's break it down a little bit further for the new people. We talked about this, fixing and flipping versus wholesaling the contract. How would you, because you want to do things the moral, ethical way, when you have no intention of actually keeping the home, but you are going to assign the rights to the contract to fix and flip it to a fix and flipper, how are you letting the homeowner know about that?
So, guys, if you build rapport with these people enough and provide enough value to them, they don't necessarily care what happens to their property as long as their problem is taken care of. And in fact, if you build that relationship strong enough, they will want you to make money, and they will actually say so. Like towards the end of an appointment, I'll be going through everyone's options, and they'll be like, well, what do you get out of this? Like, how do you make money? I want to make sure you're okay too. It's just funny that when you're giving and giving and giving, law of reciprocity says they want to give back. Okay. So in terms of explaining to them an assignment and that I'm going to assign it to someone else, I don't expressively do that. Now it's in my contract. So I'll go through the contract and it'll say that I have the ability to assign, but I don't expressively just say, yes, I'm going to get this under contract and I'm going to sell it to an end buyer. Now, there are particular situations to where maybe the deal has no equity, or maybe it's a sub-2 deal in an area that I don't really want. And I'll tell them, look, I'm not really a buyer for this. I can help you find an end buyer. Would you be okay with that? And sometimes they are. But guys, don't get caught up in these questions. Jonathan, I love that you ask all these questions all the time. But a lot of these questions you're asking, you're just seeking additional questions so that you don't have to do anything, right? These are fear-based questions to where you think that you're going to get into a living room and someone's ready to sign and they're going to talk to you all about the assignment and what you're going to do with the property down the road. I don't ever get asked that question. After thousands of appointments, provide the value, appear as an authority, act like you care for them, and they trust you at that point. There is none of these questions. They're not going to ask for a proof of funds. They're not going to ask for all these weird documents. Maybe you see it differently, Caroline, but I don't go down here and explain every single thing about what I'm going to be doing. It's in my contract. I go over it, but it's not just 1,000% transparent on the disposition, because I'm not necessarily sure when I'm in the moment what I'm going to do all the time.
I would agree. I think what I would say for everybody on here, you're right. First and foremost, Michael, these are really good questions, but a lot of these questions are almost turning into hypotheticals just because you're afraid it's going to happen. When you over deliver on value, people are not going to be concerned what's happening at the end of the day. Again, I love giving this example. Always think about these things as you are a doctor solving a problem. And if you're going to go up to one of these homeowners and say, hey, your most loved relative, they're not going to make it to tomorrow unless they have the surgery. They need the surgery or else. What do we do? Are you going to say, what would you say if they told you that? I'm going to say, have the surgery. Why are you even telling me about this? This is a no-brainer. Do the surgery, save my mom, save my loved one. Or are you going to say, how much would it cost to save them? You're not going to do that. If they're a bleeding neck, they need the help. You got to cover it up. So go through that and find people who truly want help and need help. Actually, Marlon and I, and Marlon's listening actually, like with a 5-second delay. He's listening to our YouTube. Turned it off, but I was just like delayed. Oh, here, I'll give you. You want this AirPod? Yeah. Here you go. Left one. I need the right one for the microphone. So, with that being said, going into understanding what the problem is, making sure you're talking to people who need to sell. Marlon and I were listening earlier to Myron Golden, and we were talking about, he interviewed Myron Golden on his podcast a while ago. And am I allowed to share what you told me he told you? Absolutely. So Myron told Myron hey,
Golden, I don't know about this. Holy cow.
Well, because we were talking about you. So it actually came in from talking about you and Myron, like how much, here, I'll do it this way so you can also see Marlon. how much we appreciated you guys. And like we talked with you yesterday, how, you know, your faith is such a big part to how you are successful and how you've even had homeowners choose to work with you because of your faith. And he said, when he asked to interview Myron Golden, well, how about you say it? Why don't you just speak loud enough?
Yeah, so when I asked to interview Myron Golden.
Can you hear him, Michael?
Mostly. Yeah.
Okay, go ahead. I just got to lean in.
So when I asked to interview Myron Golden, he came on, and before we started the interview, he said, listen, I'm going to talk about my faith. I'm going to talk about the Bible. And if that's an issue, let's not even do the interview right now. And I loved that because he was so direct. He was so unabashful about, this is what I believe in. I don't need you to believe it, but I believe it. And this is my truth. And I'm not going to change who I am in order to impress anybody else. And that, truthfully, he's actually the reason I started picking up my Bible again. He's actually a major part of what made me go back to scripture and go back to continue my walk in my faith.
So a really good fact, but the reason I bring that up is because I was taking notes during it. And one of the things that he talked about is talking about, I think they're my notes. You guys even saw it on my Instagram story today. And we've talked about this before, but you be, do, and have. Act like the person you need to be. Do the things that they would do, and you will have what you want. But what I wrote down was serve the people who want it. Okay? All of these people need help getting their auction stopped. Okay? We'll give them the resources. Some will, some won't. So what? And those that really want to work with you and they want to stop their auction, they're going to go and ask, like, they're not going to ask you, like, how much money are you going to make on this? Thank you so much for helping me. I want to make sure that you're compensated. So I would 100% agree with you, Michael. I just wanted to throw that out there for everybody. Serve the people who want it. Not everybody. Everybody could use this, but everybody won't take it. So just continue focusing on the people who want to work with you is what I'd say. Driving that home. Great question, though. All right. Let's get to the next one from you, Jonathan. If someone is 10 days from auction, would you contact them daily or every other day using different methods due to the urgency of the auction date? Michael, I'm going to let you answer that one.
I could give you guys a cadence, but just know that every state has different timelines and every person has a different timeline. This is the same question as, well, when's the perfect time to go door knocking? It's the same question. The answer to that, I could give you tactical, right? I could give you a PDF that shows exactly what to say and when to do it, and it would work. But the other side of things is you just have to commit to doing that action whenever you're available to do it. So you just talked about, I forget her name. You just said that she did 15 deals or whatever. And her time was to do it on the weekends.
Yeah.
Right? You committed to do it on the weekends. And how many deals? You said 15. How long was the period for getting those?
Well, she did her first deal. She did her first deal in, I think, 30 days from door knocking. And now we're in August. So she started in October. So 8 months or 10 months? 10 months to do 15 deals.
That's pretty doggone good. One a month. So Jonathan, in terms of how you should attack these people, when I started pre-foreclosures, I just picked random data points, but then I started noticing, well, I got contracts in the last 10-day list. And what I do is I would just circle the drain was the term that I always went back to where it's like, here's the 20 properties in my area that are 10 days or less before the foreclosure sale. And at that point, all I would do is door knock all those properties. I would just hit them up, door knock them, hopefully have a conversation, hopefully set up a next conversation, or I would identify that one's vacant. This one has this issue. Then after I door knocked those properties, I would go back to my office. I would then backfill with, all right, I'm going to follow up with the person I said I'm going to follow up with. I'm going to research that person that their house was vacant. I'm going to follow up with that neighbor that said that they'd give me some information on the seller. Okay. It's just about taking massive action. Like I said, I could give you a PDF or something of every single text, every single video message, all those different things. But remember, it's not like we're robots. You want to get these deals by being you and establishing a human connection. So whereas you do want to automate that marketing to some extent, because the more consistent you are, the more reliable you're going to get deals. You can't just be a robot with these people. You actually have to connect. So there might be text that you send out on a drip, but then you go to a house and you identify something that's a little odd. Like, oh, you talked to the neighbor or you found that it's vacant. And then you can insert that into your message and make it a little bit more personal. So at the end of the day, real estate's very relational, and you will never be able to remove humans out of it. So when someone asks me, what is the perfect cadence? Guys, in the community that we have, I'll provide you these things, but don't discount how important who you are is in a transaction. Like it's fascinating. I have multiple acquisition guys, and sometimes they'll be going to a property and they get cussed out, right? Homeowner hates them. I go up to the property, I nail it, get the contract, and then on the next property, it can flip. So sometimes it's personality based, or they connect with you and your vibe. So don't get obsessed with what is the exact formula on things. I will provide those things to you, but a lot of it is intuition and getting out there and seeing what you see going on and taking action based on that. And a cadence or a computer isn't going to be able to, at least yet, see those intangibles that you're seeing. That is not the answer that Jonathan will want. So, of course, Raylan White, so will you provide the PDF? It was just like...
No. But that's really what it's just, you need to follow up with these people. There's no magic. It's not like you can just get into a course and it gives you everything. It doesn't work unless you're actually doing the action. So you'll earn nothing if you don't do the work. Like, I don't know. The biggest thing I think I really enjoyed yesterday from hanging out with Michael is you just kept talking about, I want, whenever you launch, you're like, when I launch my course, you just said, I only care about people having the results. And the nice thing was you talking about how you're going to make sure the results happen. I'm excited for it to be released. A lot of success coming from it. Is there anything you want to add there?
Well, it's funny because I made a quick Instagram video today, and it was talking about that exactly, which is I kind of pissed some people off saying personal development books and books about how to run business and make money don't actually make you money. Taking action makes you money. Taking action makes results. And so, Mike, I think you gave the perfect answer of go and do the work, go and show up and have imperfect ugly action. You're going to learn so much more from it.
Well, and guys, you have to realize it's not the perfect script or the perfect message that gets the deal. That might open the door, right? But it's what happens at that appointment and the skill level that you have. We talk about list stacking, but you also have skill stacking, right? So, I know how to solve that particular problem, or I have a contact that can do that thing. And the only way that you get those skills or those contacts are by going out in the field and meeting these people and experiencing the problem. If you're just, sitting on your couch watching content and trying to memorize scripts, you really have no idea, as Pace would say, the bunnies that are out there. You don't know. Like, even now, I'll experience new things after hundreds and hundreds of these things. And it's like, wow, I've never experienced that before. But then it prompts me to go find a person or a resource that can solve that problem. And then over time, you've stacked hundreds of different experiences and different problems. And then when you're at that appointment and they pull out that problem, all of a sudden it's like, oh, I know exactly what to do. And then the seller's like, wow, this person knows how to take care of me. I'm signing with them. Whereas, let's say we both sent the same text message at the same time. We both get an appointment, right? But they have a problem and you come in there and you're like, I have no earthly idea. Or you don't have a JV team member at your disposal, a community that can help you. They're immediately going to say, I don't know. I just don't know. But if you can come in there and you have that skill or you have that JV partner, and you can walk in there and say, you need to do X, Y, Z. All of a sudden they're like, oh my gosh, I can't imagine working with anyone else. And that's the difference between hypothetical real estate, where you're just trying to come up with the robot version of trying to get a deal, and the experiential version of when you're going into an appointment. It's like, I know how to solve this person's problem. As we talk about at the meetup the other day, if you're in Kansas City, it's like you get paid to solve problems. And that seems like a cop-out sometimes, but until you get out into the field, you don't realize the problems that people face. And it's problems they don't know how to solve. And you get in there, you solve that problem, and they're sold. Hopefully that helps a little bit, Jonathan.
I think that was great. I think you hit the nail on really good. Before I bring up this next question, and again, guys, if you're on, I know some people are on Instagram Live, some people are on Facebook. If you'd like to ask questions, make sure you come over to YouTube. YouTube is where we're able to see your questions. And then last thing I want to say before I get to the next question Jonathan has, please, guys, we're doing this for free. We want to make sure that you guys are getting value. It'd really mean a lot if you just click the like button, hit the subscribe, make sure you have all the notifications turned on so you don't miss anything. We're just trying to make sure we're providing value. All right. Now, this next question from Jonathan just tells me if you have not watched the role play Michael and I did, every single live I bring it up. Go to Michael's YouTube, scroll down to his videos and find role play with an angry seller. It goes over this, but Michael, what's in it for you? When you're knocking on my door, I don't understand it. Are you just one of those hungry vultures that's trying to buy my house? What's in it for you? Why are you helping me right now?
As you're going to come across a lot of people that are angry, a lot of people that are in a significant amount of pain. And if you're in the third or fourth person that's knocked on their door today, it's likely you're an easy target and they're going to lash out. So you more than likely will have to meet their energy a little bit. Caroline's right. Go watch that video, and we can link it in the comments of this once we're done. But she gets after me pretty hard. And I kind of pushed back at first and matched her tone a little bit, but then let her know, kind of affirmed what she said. Yes, you're probably getting bombarded. You're probably sick and tired of it. I completely get it. I have no idea why I would trust me either. But the reality is, I just want to serve you. Your lender is giving you all kinds of grief. You've got this problem. I just wanted to stop by, go over a few options. Not here to take your house. And you can believe that, or you can not believe that. But I'm here. Why not have a conversation? What does it hurt? And if you just want me to buzz off, I can do that too. But she's pulled this up here, but she gets after me pretty good. I don't remember exactly what I say. But guys, try to match their energy, affirm what they say, and try to let them know that you're there to provide value. But this is a good framework. She kind of scared me on this video. It caught me off guard a little bit.
Well, I did it.
So I forget what I said. But it's perfect to kind of see what that kind of looks like and feels like, and practice that a little bit, because you're going to experience it at the door. Like, the difference between a deal and not a deal is very, very small. So looking at these types of videos, it's not just to boost our video view count and stuff. You knowing how to handle an angry seller and be able to handle it in your way that fits in the framework that I kind of go over here is the difference between you getting your first deal and not.
The one thing I want to say, and this is funny because the daily dials actually started because of the sales dojo that Marlon did with a few other people, and then we blew it into something bigger where people got to practice doing role plays and everything. But the reason I came at you so hot in a Zoom is because I like to, whenever you guys are looking to do stuff, the purpose of the daily dials was we weren't getting enough reps on the phone with actually motivated homeowners, guys. Is anybody, let me know in the comments right now, is anybody else struggling to actually talk to homeowners that need to sell their house right now? You're like, man, I'm getting a lot of people that just don't have, they're not interested, disconnected phone numbers. I can't find truly motivated homeowners. If you're having that problem as well, throw in role play or just me. I want to see that. The reason why we bring that up is because we practice. Find the little community that you can practice with to get better with together. I'm going to stop the screen share here. But the reason I bring that entire role play up is because I was dealing with homeowners that were angry and hot, and I didn't know how to overcome it. And I was like, I'm not going to be the first buyer. I'm going to be the angry seller so I can throw it at Michael, who has more experience than me, and see how this expert has handled these conversations. So if you guys are looking for those kinds of questions, bring them in here, or how would you overcome this, or what would you say? And it was so great. That was actually one of our first times we did this call together, Michael, because I'm like, I know that I need to get more deals so I can help more people, because with my success and experience, I can share with more homeowners and other real estate investors that are trying to stop this. But find somebody who's been there before and ask them how they'd overcome that. But I think you did a good job if you're like, exactly what you said. Hey, I understand you're getting bombarded. I've been here before. You give them a third-party story. You explain the situation and let them know that there is light at the end of the tunnel. And most people will disengage. And sometimes people might not. And you know what? Some will, some won't. So what? Come back another day. But that would be the biggest thing. And that leads into Jonathan's next question. How do you hype yourself up before you go and knock a door, Michael? I know you made a video a while ago. You're like, man, I haven't knocked doors in a minute. I'm kind of nervous door knocking. What do you say to help yourself get out of the car? Because I showed Marlon and Linda the first time I ever knocked the doors in Florida, and I did not do it consistently, but I had my sticky note filled out before I got to the door. And I walked up to the door, and I was like, I knocked on the door, stuck my sticky note, and I ran back to my car because I was afraid of getting yelled at. That was my first experience door knocking. I didn't even wait for anybody. How do you hype yourself up before door knocking on doors, Michael?
I wouldn't say that I hype myself up. I try to get my heart in a certain posture that makes sense. So we talked earlier about, Myron Golden talks about the Bible and talks about his faith and stuff. Myron Golden is like one of my Christian mentors. I would love to meet that man. So we may have to talk about how that can happen. But I try to get my heart in a position to where I'm there to serve. So I may say a prayer or something before, and you don't have to do this if you're not a believer, but the same thing can be said. I'll try to explain it, but I'll say a prayer like, Lord, guide me to the people that truly need my help today. When I'm there, help me not to focus on my own desires. Help me to truly listen to what they need and be Jesus to them in this moment. Completely divorce my own desire from what's going on the other side of the table. That way, when I'm having that conversation at the door, I'm having the conversation on the phone, or I'm sending that text message, I'm not thinking about, that cash coming, right? And then you miss the little piece of information that you needed to hear. You're completely focused on the other person and what they need and how you can solve that problem. You're not thinking about the contract. You're not thinking about closing the deal. You're just thinking about serving. So if I posture my heart in that way to where it's like, you know what, that person approached me and they were really hostile, I understand because I prayed beforehand that person is hurting and they need someone to serve them, and my heart breaks for them. So I'm able to respond to them in a way that is not angry or not defensive. It just comes from a heart of servitude. So I don't sit there and listen to Kanye West and get really hyped up for these things. I just try to position my heart in a place to where I'm ready to serve, if that makes sense.
It makes absolute sense. I think that's a good way to go about it because you're not taking things personally. I think you talk about it a lot at the meetups where you learn from some people. They're saying no to homeowners. They don't have to buy every property. And sometimes the best thing to do is just it's not you. You might be the fifth person. Like I said at the meetup, I went to one house where they didn't even have an auction date yet. The auction date hadn't even been posted. First day of notice, I was the 12th person to get there at 6 p.m. So they were burnt out. He was polite with me still. He actually ended up getting to keep his home. It was great. But it's not you, it's them almost all the time. And they're just really stressed out. Do you say anything different?
And I agree with you 100%. I really like what Mike is saying because Michael, what he's talking about is you set the intention in yourself first and foremost. And I believe that sales is a game it's a spiritual game, it's an intentional game. people can sense your intention. So even if you're like, hey, I'm not a wordsmith. I don't sound like Caroline. I don't sound like Michael on the phones or in person. I don't know how to piece words together like that. People can truly feel what your intention is. Are you there with the intention to serve them, or are you there with the intention to serve yourself? And so I love that, because I discovered that in my own business, and that's what gave me confidence that I can just be myself on the phone, because I do want to help, and people can feel it. And I'm sure, Mike, you probably get this all the time, where they might pick up the phone when you call or your team calls, and they say, I don't even know why I picked up the phone. I never answered the phone call. And it's like, because you guys put out that intention of wanting to serve. And so it was in resonance with who they were and where they were.
Mm-hmm. I couldn't quite hear all of that, but
well,
it was good. I heard some of it.
Switch your AirPods.
Well, I won't be able to remember fully what I said.
Basically, he was just saying intention is key. You have to intention in certain sense. You know when somebody's coming up to you and they're putting something in like there.
The audio is struggling a little bit. I don't know if it's just me.
Well, it's probably out. So I prefer to be sharpie right now. I'll try. What's your delay? I have to call. Try back. I'll open another question for you.
What do you suggest for a W-2 guy that solos out of time? I mean, do you mean what, the time that you're not working? Is that what the question is? How to use your best time when you're not working?
Yeah.
So we just heard about the person that had done 15 deals just on the weekend. So if you're a W-2 guy and you're working 9 to 5 and then you got a family, it might be tough Monday through Friday, but maybe you have a Saturday, maybe you have a Sunday afternoon. And then all of a sudden you're consistent with that. I've always talked about, you got to hit 100 doors to be able to get a deal. And if you're out on the weekends and you can hit 15, 20 doors, well, maybe it takes you 4 or 5 weeks to get a deal. And if you're getting a deal once every month or two, that's life-changing money. And then perhaps that's enough money to go ahead and quit your W-2 if that's what you desire. I think Caroline may have dropped, so we'll see. She has all the controls for putting up all of your questions and all that stuff. So we may just have to go with a little less intrigue and things. Oh. Are you still there?
Yeah, can you hear me though?
I can sort of hear you. I don't know if everyone else can. Maybe I'm deaf.
Well, I turned my camera off.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll keep moving. So
well, we answered Kevin's question, so we can move on to the next one.
What do you suggest for someone who wants to focus on remote out of town?
So, guys, you can do this virtually. Now, I personally like to do things in person. I'm from the Midwest. I like belly to belly. I find it easier to get deals that way. But there are people that are doing this nationwide virtually. So you can have a difference in viewpoint and still have it, still both be correct. But you probably want to establish a JV partner in that market that you're doing things virtually. That way, when the opportunity arises and that person wants to see someone's face, they want to talk to you, that person can meet. Or you can do it on FaceTime. I've locked up deals on FaceTime and things like that too. But again, this all comes down to making sure your marketing goes out, no matter where you are, having those conversations. It's not like you have to be in person to have a really good conversation. You can do it on the phone. I've locked up who knows how many foreclosure deals over the phone because I had some sort of rapport. But I don't know, Caroline, you do more virtual stuff than I do. So maybe you can chime in on that because you're in Florida and you're in these different markets. Maybe you have some additional insight.
Can you hear me?
No, I'm not hearing you. You there?
Hear me now? Is that any better?
You're back.
Okay, cool. So I had to use my computer microphone instead of my AirPods, so I don't know what's going on with that. But
There you go.
yeah, I do a lot of stuff virtually. Okay, perfect. So I do a lot of stuff virtually. Yes, I would say actually most of my deals are coming virtually because I had a team. It's hard to keep a team for me. I'm just not in that position because I still do have a W-2. But I'd say you can do things virtually. It just comes back down to frequency of hitting them and actually caring. Same thing. What cut out with Marlon earlier is just your intention. So even when you're texting them or calling them or messaging them on any other platform, it's all about how you say it and what you say. If you just seem like a bloodthirsty vampire trying to suck the life out of somebody or just steal their equity, nobody's going to want to work with you. That's incorrect. That's not what we do. We get paid to help people. So if you put their goal at the front of everything, it'll end up panning out for you. But yeah, I have a deal right now in Las Vegas. Actually, I'm waiting to hear back from a TC if we can do a digital notary. Otherwise, I'm going to a UPS tomorrow. I just did one in Chicago with a digital notary. I have another one in Atlanta we just closed on. We're getting our second one in Atlanta done. You can do these things virtually. It just comes back down to having the right core team in place. And I'd say that I learned a lot of that from you, Michael, having people that can get auctions stopped. So yes, you can do this virtually. You do not have to be belly to belly, but I will say this. It makes it much easier because people can't ignore phone calls. People can't ignore text messages. And I had one homeowner who changed his phone number 4 times in the amount of the period of time that we got under contract. So sometimes you just cannot get a hold of them. And if I am coming in a little bit clearer now, I'm actually going to let Marlon, I'll rephrase basically what Marlon said about working with these homeowners. It just comes back down to the intentionality of how you interact with these people. So via text message, doing it virtually, and you can tell when somebody's being honest and they want to really help you from the bottom of their heart. And you can feel your gut intuition when people are just saying things to say things, take up the air in the room. So you know, trust your gut at the end of the day when you're listening to people and when you're talking to people. That's the biggest difference, I'd say. Getting to the next one.
One of the most interesting conversations you can do with a seller, let's say that you've met a seller, you've gone through the conversation, they're good, you've signed the contract, right? Instead of just bolting out of there, you can gain a ton of insight on why a seller went with you or what their logic was. So one of the practices that I have is after I sign a contract, just kind of ask them, like, I'm so glad that we're going to work together. Can't wait to get this problem solved. Would you just explain to me why you went with me? Like, why did you answer my text message or answer my door knock? There's surely other people. Like, kind of explain that to me. And they'll explain every single other person that came to their house, what their demeanor was, what did they say? Did they seem like a bloodthirsty vampire? And they'll say, one of the things they'll always say is, you were like the only person that seemed like you cared, to where all the options you had available actually seemed available instead of just, I'll sell my house cash. You're the only one that actually went through that with me. And it's always fascinating that people think, well, everyone else is going to beat me out because they're more eloquent and they're, just better with people. But after all these years, no matter how many times I've gone over these frameworks, the seller will still say, everyone else, you were the only person that went over these options. Everyone else just said, I can get you cash in your pocket and you can move out in a few weeks. And it's just staggering to me. So if you can really internalize these frameworks that we talk about week after week after week and be intentional about going over those with people, you're going to stand out like a sore thumb more than you think.
Well, one thing I really liked about hanging out with you yesterday and being able to ask you more questions, we've covered this a few times, but guys, the other thing is we don't always buy these houses. Like sometimes we don't buy them. And one thing that I really loved, you helped one family and they gave you a great review and they gave you a referral to 6 other families that sold their houses to you. So by stopping one auction and helping a family stay in place, you were able to make over $100,000 with these other families through that act. So for everybody on here, don't have commission breath. Go with a servant heart. Lead with value. And when you do that and you're intentional and it's, guys, it's not easy. If it was easy, everybody'd be doing it. You've got to connect them with the right people. I've sat on hold with the bank for 2 hours to stop an auction. When you're starting, you're a lone wolf, and you'll eventually get a team together. Like, Michael, what'd you say? The first 5 years you were doing this solo?
Yeah, I got started 2015. My first hire was in 2020 during COVID. So that first 5 years, it was just me, myself, and I.
And one of the other things, Michael, we opened up this entire podcast episode. And guys, actually, we need to come up with a better name for this. Millionaire Lunch is just a tagline to get you guys to pay attention because he's a millionaire from this. But one of the other things is you did your first $1 million in real estate with just a notepad and a pen, right?
Yeah. The first ones I ever did, probably first 20, 30 deals in foreclosures. Didn't have a CRM, didn't have technology. It was literally, like you've probably all heard my story of the first deal that I did. I looked at Zillow, saw that it was a deal close to me, walked to the house, door knocked it, made $50,000. And for a long time after that, it was just, I'm going to look at Zillow and I'm going to find the foreclosures. I'm going to write it down on a piece of paper, and that's where I'm going today. So you do not need the technology, you do not need sophistication to do well. All those things help significantly, and I will have products that allow you to skip, 5, 6, 7 years of learning and just have it right at your fingertips. But guys, you don't need a ton of resources. So if you're the person that has $20 in your bank account, but you have a full tank of gas or you have a cell phone, there is no excuse for you because you can generate cash out of thin air today if you go to the right homeowner and say the right thing.
100%. Guys, you don't need everything. You just need to have, and like I did the newbie with this, so I brought my iPad out. Intention and focus. Everybody write this down. You're going to hear us repeat a lot of things, but they work, and that's why we repeat it. Our most valuable asset is what, everyone? Let's see if we can get this in the side chat. What is our most valuable asset, you believe? Marlon, you already know the answer to it, but what do you think most people are going to say their most valuable asset is?
Most people are going to say the most valuable asset is time.
Michael, would you agree time is the most valuable asset? That's what most
it's an important asset. It's an important asset. I'd be curious what the wise man across from you has to say. I'm always fascinated by what he has to say.
He does have great stuff. Well, look, I love it. Peter's playing with us, and Peter said consistency. Let's see what the people on Instagram Live are saying. Instagram Live, people are saying time. That's funny. Time. All right. Marlon, tell us, what is our most valuable asset that we have?
The most valuable asset, especially as an entrepreneur, is your attention. Yeah. Your attention is the most valuable asset. Now, it costs time to pay attention. However, where your attention goes, your energy flows. You have to be cognizant of where your attention is. And unfortunately, many entrepreneurs are leaking their attention at an alarming rate. Mike, what I appreciated about you spending time with you yesterday was listening to how you've been able to focus your attention for close to a decade. You've been able to stay focused on a single thing, and you went an inch wide and a mile deep. That's a result of having focused attention.
That's what his phrase was. That's what he had to say. So
wrong word.
Focused is huge. I know. Focus with your attention, because if you're in a, like, this is what I did. This is how I ended up when I first got into like sub 2. Let's talk about sub 2. I went through the contract section. I don't know, but I think I might have told you this, Michael. It bored me out of my mind, the contract section. So boring. I was going through the modules, but I was scrolling on my phone. So I was spending the time there, but my attention wasn't really with it, and my focus wasn't with it. It was on social media, which ended up not making me any money. So where focus goes, energy flows. So the answer to all of this is focus. You're exactly right, Dustin. Write down focus, guys. What are you focusing on? Wherever you're focusing, that's what's going to end up paying you out over time. Make sure you're focusing on the right things. Next question here from Nick. How do you effectively determine if the seller is willing? You have a good first encounter, but they neglect to answer your calls and texts once you make contact. So, Michael, what would you say here?
So a lot of times you'll have that really good first encounter. Maybe you go through all their options that they have. They give you their phone number. And then after that, you're supposed to talk to them the next morning at 10:30. They ghost. They won't respond to you. You got to understand that you've just provided them some options, and perhaps they're vetting those out, or perhaps because they're going through the most difficult time in their life, they're just distracted. Their phone is off. Their electricity in their home is off, and their phone is dead. There could be a litany of items to why they don't answer. But the reality is, if in that first interaction you come off as someone that's there to serve, they may ignore you. But when the time comes down the road, I call these people last minuters, right? They call you a couple of days before the foreclosure sale. Oh, I tried all these options. They didn't work. They failed. I don't know what to do now. Can you help me? And if you lead with value, as we always say, you're going to be the one that they work with. Now, that doesn't mean you stop following up. Okay? I've told the story a jillion times of the 117 follow-up lady. And after I signed that contract, I asked her, like, I followed up so many times. Why this one? Why now? And she's like, well, I saw all of your all your messages, all your door knock notes, all that type of stuff. But my son died in that house, and I couldn't deal with it. And you were the only person that was following up within a few days of the foreclosure sale. There were a ton of others, but you were the only one that survived, the one that kept going. And because of that, I felt like I could trust you. If you were going to pursue me that hard, I was willing to go with the person that was willing to pursue me. So you just got to keep following up. You don't always know why they're not answering. It can be really, really frustrating. But that's the name of the game in sales. Keep following up, keep showing value, keep showing you care. And if that person decides to take action and sell their home or needs assistance, you're going to be the one that's top of mind.
Another thing to write down, another key phrase, everybody, the fortune is in the follow-up. The fortune is in the follow-up. And if you don't follow up, guess who's going to? Michael, Caroline, Marlon. Follow up, and then just be different. Like that's you, Michael. I remember, guys, you were asking all the same questions I asked Michael when I got started. I was like, Michael, what would you do here? He's like, you just keep leading with value. You're not just saying, hey, I was just checking in because you were on my agenda for the day, or you thought about selling your house to me for cash. That's not what I'm doing. I'm checking in to see the resources I gave them ended up working for them. Is this helping you? What else are you guys needing right now? I want you guys to keep your home, because at the end of the day, guys, we are a backup option. When they cannot keep their home, we are the backup option. And then we're helping these families that are falling on hard times. Like, they're good people. This is another conversation we had yesterday. Like, how can we make community a bigger aspect of it? We drove by a house the other day, Michael, or last night, and Marlon's like, look, it's one of those houses with the front porch Michael was talking about. Like, we were just like, yeah. The community aspect, guys. So we're helping our fellow American, our fellow human being that's just having a tough go in the moment, so they can get a fresh start. So just remember that. All right. Let's see. Another one, Nick just said, I've been working with Bobby on a deal in Goodyear. I love that, Nick. I hope that's really helpful for you. All right. Jesse Lee Gomez said, if we are about to close our first deal, how would you invest back, or what amount? So, Michael, when you first got started and you got an assignment fee, were you paying yourself 100% of the assignment fee?
Man, it's been a while. At the time, we were definitely pouring money back into marketing. I think at the time I set aside a certain amount of each profit, like 15 or 20%. To pour back into the business. And that was just a given. Like if I had a $20,000 assignment, I was going to set aside, $3 or $4 grand to pour back into the business. And then the rest of it was profit. That is a question that is 50 shades of gray, and it depends on the person. But I definitely think that in your mind, you should keep some in your bank account for a rainy day. but you should determine a reasonable amount of that profit that you should pour back into the business, because if you don't have leads coming in, you don't have a business, and you're going to have to do something to generate those leads. So determining some sort of percentage of your overall profit could be a good metric. How did you think about that, Caroline? It's been a long time since I've thought about that.
Yeah, great question. I would say what I've learned from the book called Profit First, you should set aside 10% of everything just for taxes, just to completely cover yourself. I think you hit the nail on the head.
More than 10% for taxes.
Oh,
More than 10%. If you're making money that, you know, 200, 300, 400 grand, you need to be setting aside 30 or 40% for taxes. So that's, if you only set aside 10 or 15% and you've had a really good year where you did 20 deals that made $25,000 and you spend all the rest of it, Uncle Sam's going to come with a fat bill, and that's where you can get in trouble with taxes. So make sure you talk to your CPA and kind of come up with some projections on that. Ask me how I know how that's a problem.
Would you say for each deal you're setting aside 20 to 30%, or would you say you're saying, because I was thinking like 20 to 30% for each deal? Yeah.
So 30% is a wise metric. It depends on how much money you're at, and this is a whole different conversation about tax brackets.
Yeah.
But definitely sit down with your CPA. Let them know, hey, I'm planning on doing X amount of deals. I'm expecting this amount of revenue for this coming year. What would be a wise amount to set aside? And a lot of them will have you send in quarterly tax payments so you get a little bit more safe. But I know a lot of you are probably not doing quarterly payments for your taxes, and you're probably just waiting till the end of the year and hoping and praying. And then all of a sudden you have this giant bill and you don't have the tax money. So that's definitely a conversation worth having with a CPA.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's a good thing. Read the book Profit First, Jesse Lee, everybody on here. So we've given you a few nuggets on here. Listen again, honestly, listen to it again. You're going to find something from each section of it, but Profit First, figure out how you want to do things. And then we were just talking about Rich Dad, Poor Dad again, because Marlon, I love that Marlon's like, have you really studied this? Like, you read it once, but did you really comprehend it? And we talked about who's going to cry more, who should be paid first, you or your credit card bills. You know, everybody's like, oh, my credit card bills. Well, if you don't pay yourself, you're not going to really throw a fit. You're like, oh, I'll pay myself next time. If you pay yourself first, you'll figure out a way to, like, these other people are going to let you know you haven't paid. Uncle Sam is going to come give you a fat bill. So make sure you're setting things up the right way so you're taken care of. We are not CPAs. We are not attorneys. Please make sure you're doing your homework. There's always, you know, that little section we tell you guys on our videos. Please do not, you know, take legal advice from us. Go ask an expert for your specific area and what you guys are doing. All right, another question on here, though. Christian said, hey, Michael and Caroline, love you guys and your content. Question. First, actually, before we get into that, thank you. See, the words of affirmation matter. I read it because of the love section. Question. Do you need a license to help homeowners recover funds after their home has been lost to foreclosure? I have received mixed reviews. So I'm going to keep this short and sweet. We are not attorneys. Every state has different rules. You should check your states, but I do not believe you need to. That's a quick condensed version. That's an entire different topic. I know Nita Patel just did helping homeowners do that. I want to tell you guys this. At the beginning of this, I'm guessing, Christian, you asked this after we talked about focus. If your focus isn't on that, I wouldn't get distracted by it. Nita Patel helped one homeowner get money from that, and it took her 9 months to get paid. And that's a lot of time and attention. I would just say pass it on to somebody else who's doing it. If you're not in that situation, I wouldn't worry about it right now. Michael, would you add anything else to that?
Like we talked about earlier, your most powerful asset's your attention. Helping people with surplus funds is a different business entirely than what we're talking about. And it is a really nice bolt-on, and I will talk about it a lot down the road because it is a wonderful additional feature that you can help your clients with. But to answer the question, many times in states, you do not have to have a license in terms of a real estate license or anything like that to fill out an agreement to help someone with surplus funds. But many times when you're connecting with the foreclosure attorney or whoever's holding those funds, they will only speak to an attorney. So many times you'll have to connect with an attorney. They'll have to draft up some documents. So it depends on the state. For instance, Missouri, I could handle it all on my own for the seller. In Kansas, though, I would need an attorney's assistance as an intermediary. But we can talk about this topic at another time.
Yeah, that's really fun or fascinating to know. May 1337 said, agreeing with dealing with angry sellers. Had someone slam the door in my face, then call me off a note I left later to apologize.
Yep.
We had an appointment over the phone 2 days later. So it works. It works.
One of my favorite things to do with angry sellers, say that it's an angry call, angry text response, angry door knock response. They slam the door on you. You really don't have an opportunity. I love to follow that up with some other medium. Maybe they slam the door in my face. If I have their phone number in my CRM, just send them a quick video message and be like, look, I know you didn't want to see me today, but I'm not the enemy. Your lender is. I'm just here to help. Just let me know if you need anything. And oftentimes they'll be kind of like this, apologetic. And they'll just say, look, I'm sorry I had such a long day. 8 other people showed up my door. I'm just kind of like really anxious about this. I'm sorry that I treated you that way. And then it opens up the path for a conversation.
Okay. Dustin said, are there any differences when there is a foreclosure and a reverse mortgage? Michael, can we buy reverse mortgages?
No, you can't buy the property subject to out of a reverse mortgage. Many times when that person is in that situation, someone has passed away, and the terms of those contracts, usually they come due when that person passes away. But no, you can't take over a reverse mortgage subject to. But in terms of doing that deal, it's not terribly difficult. All you have to do is order the payoff, see if there's equity, see if you can make a deal happen. In that way, it's very, very similar to a standard mortgage. But from what I've seen, I've done quite a few reverse mortgage deals over the years, but the vast majority of these have very, very little equity. Sometimes they have a ton, so make sure you check it out. But the vast majority don't. And then when you can't take it subject to, it makes it a little bit difficult to serve sellers in that situation.
Great question, guys. I just pretty much steer clear of those, but remember what Michael just said. Double check somebody earlier today. They're like, well, how do you pull this data? Do I have to pull it myself, plug it into a document, and then upload it as a CSV file? I was like, yes, that's what I did. It's time consuming, but you're getting extremely niche. You heard Marlon say this. He went an inch wide and a mile deep, and this is why Michael is now in a position where his family is set for life. When you used to be a teacher, barely making $40,000 a year, stressed out. Like, guys, just copy off of what we're saying. You will be successful. It's the only thing you need to do. Okay. Kevin, I saw you put this on Instagram, and I'm glad you saw my comment on Instagram that said, come over here. I've gone to the courthouse, and Michael, we just talked about this, so that's why I'm bringing it up. I've gone to the courthouse to get the delinquent's records, pre-foreclosure. All I got was a name and county plot numbers. How to find the actual address. Michael was just telling us about this yesterday. Michael?
So currently the only way to do that is to cross-reference your tax record website at the county level. You're going to have like every city is going to provide you different records in different formats. Sometimes you might get it in PDF. Sometimes you might get it in an Excel document, and then their fields are going to be all mixed up. So you're going to have to do a lot of cleaning, which is wildly painful. But remember, the harder the list to get, the less competition there is and more opportunity there is. But so you're going to have to take the variables you have, go to the county records, and solve for those variables. But I've encountered this problem a lot because we have the data search or the data company that I'm building. And some states give it to you on a silver platter. The notice says, oh, the property's at 123 Main Street. The lady's name is Karen Smith. The foreclosure sale is this time. Great. Not a problem. But sometimes they might give you the legal description. Sometimes they might just give you a name. Sometimes, like Kevin said, they might give you a county plot number. Well, we're creating a concept that we call Elasticsearch, to where I can provide X, Y, and Z. And with the information that we have within the system, we can figure out what the address is or what the name is or whatever the missing variable is, beyond a reasonable doubt, get an accurate answer. But Kevin, right now, you're going to have to do some research. And this is something that you probably should not be doing. You need to learn the skill, delegate that to someone else, and they can do that. That way, they provide you the list. It's clean. You then go do the marketing, speaking to the sellers. You don't want to do a $10 an hour activity. But yeah, some of those delinquency records, they're tough to get from the county, and then they're messy. So then you have to do a bunch of research to get them up to par, to then skip trace them and do whatever else you need to do. But that's work that no one else wants to do. And you're going to find those addresses that no one else has any idea that they exist.
Yeah, you hit it on the head right there. Where most people are going to fall off, where they see that there's going to be some friction, they're quitting, and you should be like, oh, heck yeah, I'm going full force into it. That's going to give you way more of an advantage. So lucky that you do that. I did go over today. I've made Loom videos. You're going to have to do this first step when you're getting started. Figure out how to cross-reference it, record it again, cut it down, record it again once you get the process really short and sweet, and hire it out to a VA. But eventually Michael will have a solution for this. So it's crazy how in-depth you've thought about solving all these problems, Michael. This is funny.
Well, when you've been doing it this long, you experience virtually every problem. And I'm my own customer, so I want to build products that solve my problems, but hopefully they'll solve your problems as well.
This is really good. This is funny. Scotty from Washington, Texas said, does Niche have a group in Washington State that meets up on the regular? So, guys, if you guys are in Washington State here, I might need to start posting some meetups so everybody can go and connect with each other. But that's pretty cool. I know there are all kinds of meetups. You can go and ask people questions, but that would be something to ask in the Facebook group to see a little bit more.
Yeah, get in the Facebook group. Ask what other people are in Washington. I know Torrin Murfin's up there, so he'd be a kind of a good ringleader for that. But I know there's a good 4, 6, 8 other people that I know of at the top of my head. So go post in there, go connect.
All right. Next one here is from Ted. Ted Morris says, 56 years old with no real estate experience. Going to door knock off of Zillow. Any starting places for contract or purchase and stuff too, Michael?
Ted, if you go out there and you get get someone that's willing to sign a contract, you send me a message and I'll send you mine. How about that?
Boom. Good people. All right. Let's see. Steven said, I have a potential deal, which would be my first, but they're $60,000 behind. Their auction is in 5 days. They won't have any equity. How would you approach their solution, Michael?
Yeah, those situations are tough. It depends on if you can find some type of homestead buyer that can put that much down to take it subject to. But many times in these situations, we'll go find a government grant of some sort. Many states have that process to where if someone's significant amount behind, maybe the government will provide $20, $30, $40, $62,000 to bring it current. And then once they've done that, perhaps you can do something with it. Now that $62,000 isn't free. They're going to attach a 0% second mortgage on there that you're going to have to pay off at some point. But if you were going to buy that deal subject to, you wouldn't have to pay that until you were going to sell it down the line. Now, if the property is foreclosing in 5 days, like you said, it may be really difficult to get that done. So you may have to fight to get a postponement. But those situations are hard. Not every situation has a ideal solution. But in this particular situation, we've done some of those government grants to get that buy-in fee much more reasonable. Have you run into that, Caroline?
I would say what you've said. I'd also figure out what our options are if that government reinstatement does not work. Like I had one with the VA was able to jump in and help a guy get his arrears caught up, because the VAs don't want veterans losing their homes. So every situation is a little bit different. If nothing will work, they can't pull from their 401k, everything else, like they have no way of catching it up. Let's talk to an attorney for the bankruptcy potentially, and then if that doesn't work, go the short sale route. But yeah, I'd say go through all those options to stop it. Get the nail on the head here.
Yep.
You add? Oh, sorry. Blocking Merlin's view from here. All right, so another one here was Jesse Lee Gomez. Yeah, I'm loving the questions Jesse Lee has. They're telling me that you're taking action, which is incredible. I have this property here where the owner passed away. I went to the obituary and found the heirs, but they live in another city. I've reached out on Facebook. Is there another way I can get a hold of them? So before I give you the instant answer, I want you guys to take a moment here, and I want you guys to tell me this. I'm going to scroll down and look at the most recent comments so I can find this. How many of you are taking time every day, maybe 10, 15 minutes, to problem solve creatively? You have a situation like this, and you're spending 15 minutes trying to solve how else can I get a hold of them? Because Facebook is only one app contacting a person. What else do you think could be done? What are some other ways you can find people? So Facebook was one. You look them up on True People Search or some platform to skip trace them. You have their address. You now know where they live. Maybe it's texting them, calling them. Okay, that doesn't work. Maybe it's seeing who in your network lives in that area and you pay them to go knock on the door. Maybe you get really creative and you send them a pizza and you ask them to write a note on the inside of the box of the pizza. I mean, there's so many different ways you can do it. Michael, I think you talked about this last week where you had a woman, or we talked about it at the meetup, maybe it was at the meetup, where the woman had so much equity, but her son passed away and she didn't want to deal with the home, and you've done 114 pieces of outreach. And finally you found her boyfriend and contacted her from the boyfriend. What would you say here?
So guys, there's a lot of different ways that you can do this. Here's a couple of tactical ideas. Okay, you already did the first thing. You found that there was an obituary. Someone passed away. When there's a vacancy of a house, that's one of the first indicators of why it's vacant. Someone passed away. While you're on that obituary, you did the right thing. You found the names of the heirs. That's really good. But there are two other things that you can do right off the bat while you're on that obituary. Number one, most obituaries on modern websites have some sort of comment section on the bottom. All you have to do is leave a comment and say, "My condolences to the family. I'm so sorry. I'm trying to reach out to someone with a quick question. Here's my phone number." Boom. Post the comment. Who has control over that comment section? It's the funeral home that hosts that website, and then the heir, whoever is the person that handled that funeral. They're going to see that. They're going to get a notification. So that's number one. Number two, you're going to call up the funeral home and you're going to say something like this. Ring, ring, ring. Hello, this is whatever XYZ funeral home. And all you have to say is, "Hey, my name is Michael. I'm about to ask you the weirdest request that you've heard of this month." Then they go, "Ha, ha, ha, ha. What is that?" And then you say, "Hey, look, there's a person named Michael Frankie. He passed away last year and went through a funeral home. He died June 23rd of 2023. Unfortunately, his house is in foreclosure. I'm trying to reach out to the family. I've tried so hard, but I can't get a hold of them. I just want to help them. Is there any way you can pass my information along to those heirs?" And 100% of the time when I've handled it that way, they say, "Oh yeah, I actually have those people on file. I remember them. I'll send this right away." And then a lot of the time I will get, some sort of response back. So those are two things you can do on the obituary. There's many other things, but that's a good little nugget for you.
Yeah, Marlon just said gold. All right, let's find the next one.
I got time for one more, then I got to go.
One more. Oh yeah, we're over on time. Holy smokes. I'm just losing track. Okay. Let's see. My last question for you then, Michael. If you were getting started today and you needed to get a deal under contract in the next month, how many doors would you knock in a week if you had a W-2?
If I had a W-2, let's say I'm working 9 to 5, I would probably try to get in, let's say, 2 hours of door knocking a day. So 5 to 7, let's say you're heading out. Maybe you can door knock 10 doors in that 2 hours. So each day, 5 days a week, you're hitting up 10 doors, 50 doors a week. And it takes about 100 doors or so to get a contract. So about 2 weeks worth of knocking should yield one contract by the numbers. But you're going to have to take the information you find from that knock, bring it back, write it down, put it in your CRM, whatever resource you have, follow up with those people. And then after a month or so, you should either have a contract or you should have a very strong opportunity. And if you don't know how to handle that, you can JV with someone inside of the niche community Facebook group.
Boom. Michael, thank you so much for taking time away from the business and jumping in here. Everybody, if you're still on, please make sure that you've already subscribed, liked, shared this. This is what's helping us help more people. And that's actually how we help grow this. So you can, just like Jesse Lee was saying, if you need somebody to go door knock a door for you, let's build this so we can get bigger people in the community to help us nationwide. We want you guys to win. We want to help more homeowners. We'll see you here next Thursday, 12 o'clock Arizona time, which is 2 o'clock Central time. Michael, thank you guys. Thank you so much for coming on. See you later.
Later.